Welcome to Memories and Reincarnation. Selections from Theosophy's Sacred Teachings in the Key to Theosophy, Part 1 of 2, on Words of Wisdom. Madame Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, vegetarian, was born in 1831 into a noble family in Ukraine or Urain. As a child, young Helena displayed a gift for clairvoyance, as well as an interest in metaphysical phenomena. Years later, she traveled throughout Europe, the Middle East, and India, studying with various teachers and Sufi saints. Following the guidance of an Indian yogi named Mahatma Maurya, vegetarian, Madame Blavatsky co-founded the Theosophical Society. Theosophy, meaning divine wisdom, refers to knowledge that comes through spiritual experience rather than intellectual understanding alone. The Theosophical Society is dedicated to uplifting humanity through a realization of the oneness of life and the wisdom underlying all religions. Madame Blavatsky wrote several important books on theosophy, including Isis Unveiled, The Secret Doctrine, The Key to Theosophy, and The Voice of the Silence. The Key to Theosophy unlocks the door that leads to a deeper study of theosophy. In contrast to other theosophy volumes, it is written in simple explanatory language. Readers are thus able to more easily understand its fundamental principles. Today, on Words of Wisdom, we invite you to join us for excerpts from The Key to Theosophy. On reincarnation or rebirth, what is memory according to theosophical teaching? The inquirer stated, "The most difficult thing for you to do will be to explain and give reasonable grounds for such a belief. No theosophist has ever yet succeeded in bringing forward a single valid proof to shake my skepticism. First of all, you have against this theory of reincarnation the fact that no single man has yet been found to remember that he has lived, least of all who he was during his previous life." The theosophist responded, "Your argument, I see, tends to the same old objection, the loss of memory in each of us of our previous incarnation. You think it invalidates our doctrine? My answer is that it does not, and that, at any rate, such an objection cannot be final. When you take into consideration A. the utter inability of the best modern psychologists to explain to the world the nature of mind, and B. their complete ignorance of its potentialities and higher states, you have to admit that this objection is based on a former conclusion drawn from previous and circumstantial evidence more than anything else. Now, what is memory, in your conception, pray?" The inquirer answered, "That which is generally accepted, the faculty in our mind of remembering and of retaining the knowledge of previous thoughts, deeds, and events." The theosophist continued, "Please add to it that there is a great difference between the three accepted forms of memory. Besides memory, in general you have remembrance, recollection, and reminiscence. Memory is simply an innate power in thinking beings, and even in animals, of reproducing past impressions by an association of ideas, principally suggested by objective things or by some action on our external sensory organs. Memory is a faculty depending entirely on the more or less healthy and normal functioning of our physical brain, and remembrance and recollection are the attributes and handmaidens of that memory. But reminiscence is an entirely different thing. Locke, speaking of recollection and remembrance, says, When an idea again recurs without the operation of the like object on the external sensory, it is remembrance. If it be sought after by the mind, and with pain an endeavor found and brought again into view, it is recollection. But even Locke leaves reminiscence without any clear definition, because it is no faculty or attribute of our physical memory, but an intuitional perception, apart from and outside our physical brain, a perception which, covering as it does, being called into action by the ever-present knowledge of our spiritual ego, all those visions in man which are regarded as abnormal, classed by science as having no existence outside of our fancy. Occultism and Theosophy, however, regard reminiscence in an entirely different light. We call reminiscence the memory of the soul, and it is this memory which gives the assurance to almost every human being, whether he understands it or not, of his having lived before and having to live again. Physiologists and scientists in general regard such reminiscences as hallucinations and fancy, to which learned conclusion they are welcome. We do not deny that such visions of the past and glimpses far back into the corridors of time are abnormal, as contrasted with our normal daily life experience and physical memory. But we do maintain with Professor W. Knight that the absence of memory of any action done in a previous state cannot be a conclusive argument against our having lived through it. Furthermore, remember that memory is one thing and mind or thought is another. One is a recording machine, a register which very easily gets out of order. The other, thoughts, are eternal and imperishable. The inquirer argued, but don't you think that these are too fine distinctions to be accepted by the majority of mortals? The Theosophist replied, say rather by the majority of materialists. And to them we say, behold, even in the short span of ordinary existence, memory is too weak to register all the events of a lifetime. How frequently do even most important events lie dormant in our memory until awakened by some association of ideas, or aroused to function and activity by some other link. When therefore we remember that which we know about the physical and the spiritual principles in man, it is not the fact that our memory has failed to record our precedent life and lives that ought to surprise us, but the contrary, were it to happen.
Be veg, go green. Keep home earth clean. Survival instinct.
On reincarnation or rebirth. Why do we not remember our past lives? The inquirer questioned, you have given me a bird's eye view of the 7 principles. Now, how do they account for our complete loss of any recollection of having lived before? The Theosophist answered, very easily, since those principles, which we call physical, and none of which is denied by science, are disintegrated after death with their constituent elements. Memory along with its brain This vanished memory of a vanished personality can neither remember nor record anything in the subsequent reincarnation of the ego. Reincarnation means that this ego will be furnished with a new body, a new brain, and a new memory. Therefore, it would be as absurd to expect this memory to remember that which it has never recorded. To get convinced of the fact of reincarnation and past lives, one must put oneself in rapport with one's real, permanent ego, not one's evanescent memory. The inquirer asked further, but how can people believe in that which they do not know, nor have ever seen, far less put themselves in rapport with it? The Theosophist responded, if people and the most learned will believe in the gravity, ether force, and what not of science, abstractions, and working hypotheses, which they have neither seen, touched, smelled, heard, nor tasted, why should not other people believe on the same principle in one's permanent ego? A far more logical and important working hypothesis than any other. For more information, please visit Project Gutenberg, gutenberg.org.
Turn vegan? Ah, you are so intelligent and good looking.
Uplifted viewers, it has been a pleasure to have your company for today's Words of Wisdom.